Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Medicines from Around the World. I'm Sid Katz, your host and moderator. We're very happy today to have a discussion of drugs in the rainforest. And we brought together 3 different people to give their perspectives on the medicinals that are found in plants in the rainforest from around the world. Our first guest is Jose Gonzalo Cabanillas Corral from Lima, Peru. We have Bev Julian, who's here from British Columbia, the First Nations of British Columbia, and Brian Compton, who's an ethnobotanist from the University of British Columbia. Now, before we begin our discussion today, we're going to be having a little ceremony that Bev Julian is going to lead us in, which is the lighting of the smudge, which comes before important events occur, and in this case, some learning that'll go on between various peoples. So, Bev, could you please go ahead? Bev is going to light it again. It's probably something to do with the air in our studio here. It's not the outdoors. There we go. Now, while Bev is lighting it again, I should explain that the rainforest has always been a very rich source of medicinals. From time immemorial, we've known that there are certain types of plants that are present in the rainforest which are used today, for example, in modern medicine for various uses. For instance, when you go into a dentist's office, the anesthetic that he might use to relieve your pain or anxiety comes from a rainforest. Also, there are many other drugs that have been used, for instance, in cancer treatment and are still being used today, are from rainforests as well. Now, we might have just discovered this a few years ago, but First Nations people from around the world have known this for many years. Now, as more and more rainforests are being destroyed, the potential of these medicinal or healing plants might be eroded forever before we ever discover whether they have potential as chemicals that can be used in the healing process. So we've brought together some people today, 2 that have some very personal experiences with healing chemicals, and also an ethnobotanist who spent a lot of time in British Columbia studying some of these properties. So together we will learn, and hopefully it'll be of interest for all of us to learn how traditional medicine might fit in with the modern medicine that we practice today. So our first guest is Jose Gonzalo Cabanillas Corral, who's from Lima, Peru. Jose was brought up in Lima, and he learned about the process of his ancestral traditional healing from his Incan ancestors at a very young age, and then went to medical school in Mexico to acquire modern knowledge as well as being able to incorporate what he knew into the modern medicine idea. He came back and he was reaffirmed that there were certain types of healing practices that had been passed on to him that were of value. And he's come today to tell us about the clinic that he runs in Lima, where they practice both traditional healing and also modern medicine. And he goes into the rainforest every now and again and collects some new plants that he uses for his patients. So welcome, you're very welcome, Jose, for coming and for spreading your knowledge with us. Thank you very much. And now please tell us a little bit about what you understand about the rainforest and the drugs that are there.
Thank you. I was in my way to the Amazon the day I received the invitation letter from Sid. I was reading the letter at the airplane, and I finished reading the invitation letter when I was in the forest. I was sitting there finishing the letter, and at that moment I was thinking of this moment with you. I was being with you, and at the same time I wanted to share right now the moment being in the jungle and the Amazon forest and feeling all the worthiness and all the sounds of the forest, the jungle, the rain, and all this place it has no frontiers or nobody needs any visas or passports to go in. The reason I was going this time to the Amazon, it's a place that we call Pucallpa, and it's a lake, Yarinacocha Lake, where we have a garden, and we grow different type of different herbs and plants for various cases. This time I was down there looking for different plants like we call the Bejuco masairo, which is a plant that we use to do with osteosarcoma. I was also looking for leche de ojé, which is a plant that we use for parasites and all that. Then, after doing that, I went back to Lima. I wrote back the letter to Sid saying thank you for the invitation. And but now I want to tell you a little more, about what's happened and why I went to medical school. I remember doing my first experience was when I was 12 years old. I was with my mother, working with her at the house at the moment. And a lady came from Yugoslavia with skin ulcers. And my mom told this lady that she was going to be okay in 4 weeks. And if she would follow all the prescriptions and everything. I kind of argue with my mom, saying, how can you say that? That lady was sick for about 20 years. And the answer comes later on when, after 4 weeks, we had the results. In that case, we used what we call fenogreco, which is not fenugreek, similar, the name is similar, the one we have here. And we use it as a powder. It's a seed that we use, and we make the powder, and we put it on top. Then we put we cover it with clay, and then we clean that out with horsetails. You have horsetails here. We use that a lot down there in Peru. We also call it limpia plata, which means something to clean silver. It's very strong. And we use that for various different type of cleaning of anything to do with cuts and burnings and all that. Now, we have to remember something. In the 1900s, the science the world, I would say, they discover, for example, quinine, which is an alkaloid that was used for malaria. It was used in the Panamanian Channel for the problems that they had there. And then it's also used, we use it, right now we use it for high fevers and all kinds of other problems. You have to also remember curare is used right now in neurology. Then, of course, the plant that I guess everybody knows, cocaine. That somehow, in some way, any type of surgery or anything, we're going to use it. We're using it. But for some reason, all this type of investigations stopped. For some reason, stopped. And for many years, there was, I guess, more available drugs that were made chemically. So we now, we're trying to we're trying to open up, you know, the doors of this knowledge to everybody. This is one of the reasons why I decided to go to medical school, and you know, to go to medical school and know in a physiological way, you know, and also with laboratory results and everything, and have a more, I would say, more, I would show it in a better way, you know, more scientific way. Then, right now, I'd like to tell you that about 3 weeks ago, me and my friends, we put together 750 plants. Then I will present this afternoon to everybody. These plants are from the Amazon and also from the Andes. And out of those 750 plants, about 60–70% are medicinal. There is 10% are food. It's another 10% is toxic, and the rest are unknown. And I have it with me right now, and with the names, the places where you can find it, and also what are they for. I'm extending the invitation to the scientific world to do this, to be able to make it a little more available for everybody. I have some, can we see the, I have some pictures here that I'd like to show you. It's a little difficult to take pictures in the Amazon because it's a lot of shadow. The trees are very big, and it's a little bit difficult. So I hope we can see some of the Amazon. One of the reasons I got these slides here with me is to show you the beauty of the Amazon, and also the. This is some of my friends down there. He's from the Campa tribe. And this is a way this is a way to see the forest. This is the way how I used to see it. Like I said before, it's so much shadow down there, it's difficult to take pictures, and this is how you see the forest. This is from the Campa tribe down around Satipo. It's a blowgun. Somebody's using a blowgun down there. Well, this picture is also, this is the place where I have a garden in the Amazon where we grow different types of medicinal plants. This is by a lake we call Jarina Cocha Lake. This one is kind of hard to see. Again, some friends from down there. Some of the ceramic that they make out of clay. This was another lady friend there. Well, this is a picture that I wanted to show you because it was kind of unique. There was the first time he let me take this picture. He's doing a ritual to do with curing a little girl. And I just wanted to show you a few pictures of the destruction that has been done in the Amazon, together with the destruction of animals and plants and different fauna and flora down there. I'm showing this picture because this is a colony of people who went down there, and you can see in the high up there in the mountains that is almost brown. What's happened? They went down there and they cut everything, and then they tried to plant, different type of fruits or anything. But the problem in the Amazon, when you do that, it will be irreversible. It will not grow again. Some of the cutting on there. Okay, this is the way it begins. They start burning it like that to take different types of wood, especially fine wood like mahogany, etc. And this is the way it's going to be later. You know, all you see, all the dark spot, that's not forest. It's nothing there. It's all burned. Okay. And I'm showing this picture because in Peru there is a lot of in the Amazon is some type of destruction is going on. Not because they want to. It's because more than anything is because they need some. I would say education, how to live in the forest, you know, what to do. For example, here in this example, they are growing corn. You know, corn is something that you grow corn in the Amazon rainforest, and that ground down there is going to die forever. You grow corn, you know. But these are the things that you can grow. It's a matter of educating everybody down there too. And you can see this was forest. You see, all you see was that was green. That was beautiful and green. And now it's this way. When you see these pictures, you know, we're talking about 25, 40, 50,000 acres of forest that is destroyed. And this is some of our friends and myself that we're trying to reinforce the Amazon. It's also a very dark picture. This is where we travel. There's a canoe that we take when you go into the forest. And this is a way how we should see the forest. Okay. But you cannot see that one. All right.
Along with the type of destruction that you've shown and the burning, etc., are you worried that there are plants there that have not been discovered yet that might be present that could be of use in medicine?
Yeah, there is many plants. In each, you have to understand in Peru we have different areas, you know, different areas with different groups of people in each area. And each area, each group of people, they have their own knowledge and their own uses for different plants. That's how what's happened. So it's really a lot of information to learn there.
And when you went into the rainforest the last time, perhaps when you read my letter, what were you looking for? What type of chemical did you go to find? For what reason?
Well, I was looking for what we call a bejuco masairo, which is a plant that it was shown to me only a few months ago. I saw 2 patients getting well to do with osteosarcoma, and I was looking for the plant.
That's a bone cancer?
Yeah.
That's right.
Bone cancer, osteosarcoma,
Right.
yeah. I saw the results in somebody else, and I was there looking for it and trying to find the right type, because there is different varieties, you know. In each plant, if I mention, for example, the plant kuti kuti that we use for diabetics, it's about 10 or 11 different varieties of that plant. So you have to look for the one that has the ingredient. That's a little bit difficult.
So you decided to get these plants to treat some of the patients in your clinic. What would you not be using if you were to be using those plants? Are there other medicinals that, perhaps modern medicinals, that aren't as valuable, you think, for that purpose?
Well, if we talk specifically about osteosarcoma, of course, is in modern medicine is not really giving us anything there. But yes, you do use other type of treatments. More to do with, especially in those kind of cases, to do with the diet, especially because we have to understand that we also use plants. You know, we use medicinal plants that we eat. You have to know that too. Not only herbs that we take in different varieties.
Right. And you feel that there is a role that the two can come together, that the traditional plants that might have been used by your ancestors that you're using today could also be used with the modern chemicals that you have available because of your medical experience?
Yeah, well, actually I'm doing that, and I'm, of course, putting it on paper. But it's, of course, there is a lot of help, especially for the diagnosis and how to do a follow-up in a patient, in a clinical case. You know, for example, to do with a tumor, for example, and do studies with echograms and all that to see those results, for example. It helps a lot.
Right, thank you. Now, Bev, you've been listening to this, Bev Julian from the Stalo people of British Columbia. Do you have similar experiences to where these type of plants or other plants are being used for practice of healing?
Yes, all over BC, they've been using a lot of the plants. They have special people that go out and find them and prepare them for the people that are ill. And they're slowly teaching me more and more all the time.
Were there any that sounded similar to what Jose's experience have been?
Yes, some of them did. I can't really recall all the names that he...
Isn't one of the problems that the names are always different depending upon where the plants are found, so it's very hard to determine whether there's one or another? Jose, you told me that there was one plant that there were 16 different varieties, and you have to really understand the variety that you need and where to find it.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes, it's true. Like if we take a plant that we know, like quinine, for example. Quinine has it's different varieties, but there's only one who has the alkaloid, the ingredient, you know, the active ingredient alkaloid, you know. And so you have to go in there and look for it and find it.
Right.
And
so
they look the same. It's only they look sometimes they look different. It's it's not very easy to find. So many times you need help from some of the people that I show these pictures. Some of these people, so they really know where to find them.
Now, when you bring these back from the rainforest, you would like to learn more about them scientifically. So how do you do that? How can you go about it? Do you set up trials with people, 10 in each group, or how do you do it?
Well, what I do is I go back to Lima and I try to I go with different friends, you know, pathologists or people who work in laboratories, and I try to work. The problem is timing. And I feel sometimes like I'm doing it by myself, so it's kind of, you know, it makes it a little bit difficult because I got other things, other activities too. So this is what I would like to spend 100% of my time in this, but this really sometimes it makes it a little difficult. That's why I'm asking you to help me out with this.
Bev, you were saying that you're learning slowly but surely. There must be a lot to learn.
There is a lot of plants to learn about and different ways that they use them and for different illnesses.
Could you give us some examples, Bev, of things that we might understand that are being used or have been used?
One of the ones we use pretty well every day is the frog leaf. And you find it right in your front yard. And it's used for blood poison and any kind of an infection. We've used them for ulcers, and open ulcers. And you can also make a tea out of it and drink it to heal your insides, whatever is wrong with your inside.
What about willow bark? Is that still being used?
Yes, that's used too.
Why? What's in willow bark?
It's hard to say.
Well,
it could be for any...
The scientists in the room will tell you that it's acetylsalicylic acid, aspirin. That's the origin of aspirin. The original aspirin was from willow bark, and the original asparagum was taking the inside of the willow, as one of the First Nations people taught me last summer, rolling it up and chewing it.
That's right.
So that's aspirin. There must be some questions at this stage. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
I heard about that tahibo from Brazil. You know, what is the value of the medicinal value of tahibo? It is a very popular drink.
Tahibo.
Tahibo.
Yeah, it comes from the tree from
Brazil. The problem is that that name is Brazilian. I come from Peru. So, do you know what they use it for?
No, that's right. They are drinking it. They say that it's good for arthritis.
Okay.
What I'm looking for is whether it has some cleansing value for the blood, because the source of all cancers are because of the filthiness of the blood.
Mm-hmm.
If your blood is dirty, naturally you are very weak. And that's why we are looking for that kind of plant that will cleanse the blood.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm trying to find out whether tahibo is really one plant that will, medicine that will cure.
I think we can turn it around and ask you, in your experience, are there blood cleansing, obviously these are to remove infection, I guess, which you know of in terms of plants that you're familiar with?
You mean that cleansing, for a cleansing?
Yes.
It's different types, different kinds of cleansings. For cleansings, we use more than anything. We use the ashes of different trees, And I think it would be a little bit unfair if I come up with these names. But one of the things, what we use is eucalyptus, and you can do it yourself. You know, the eucalyptus, you know, the branches, you know, when it's, you can burn it and get the ashes, and take about, in hot water, you put the ashes in it, about half a teaspoon. You can drink it about 3 times a day, you know, for 7 days, and that's one way to do a cleansing. It's a very good way.
Question?
Yeah, so I heard you on the CBC radio, and I was just curious more about your clinic in Peru. Would this be like a government-sponsored clinic, or is this a private clinic?
No, it's a private. Yeah, it's a private clinic.
And this is you started this clinic?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And you alluded that you might have had international people, or people from other countries come to your clinic.
Yeah, they do sometimes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it difficult, Jose, to tell people outside of your own area about these types of healing practices and get the response that this is unscientific, that what you're really doing here is not really treating with chemicals as much as treating the body? What do you say to people that give you that type of response?
What I would say is, you know, we like the opportunity, really. We like the opportunity to share, you know, some of the knowledge, you know, that we have. Some of this incredible knowledge. We like to. I'm saying the opportunity because it's not an opportunity really to show it. So this is what I'm asking, and to share, you know, not exactly to make a business out of it to anything, because I had laboratories coming into my office, you know, from different countries, and trying to, you know, to make some type of a business with it, pharmacological business. So that's not, you know, this is something that is not for me. I'd like to share, and this is why I'm opening this, you know.
I see. Question?
Yes, I do have a question. Something that I think should be opened up in a forum like this is the aspect of our health that relates to maybe, well, the first thing we can talk about is attitudinal healing, how your mind is set. I noticed you were on the Vicky Gabbro show, you started talking into that, but you haven't mentioned anything yet.
Now's your chance.
I would say we have to understand something, you know, especially up in the Andes, and also come to the Amazon. It is true there is healers there, and the medicine is very ancient and everything. There's a lot of knowledge that we have, but we see that we need to cure, you know, your soul, you know, the part that will make you smile and make you angry and everything, that part first. Then as a gift, we were going to heal our physical body, you know. And of course, if we want to do that, we need to go back to nature to do that.
So it's a holistic approach. It's not just dealing with a specific problem.
Yeah, when you come to, like, I show a picture of my friend there, Hector, and when what he's doing there, you know, you see all the sounds he makes sometimes, and you see sometimes the smoke and everything. And many times you think that they are doing it for the patient, but they're really doing it for themselves, to be able to be complete for themselves, to be able to be clean. Then come into the patient's body or soul, then try to work there.
Bev, I see you nodding. Do you agree with that? Is that what you understand as well, as how medicine should be practiced?
Yes, because I practice that already, and as I am a natural healer, and I work with the emotional and physical body before I use the herbs.
And that's what's been practiced for all this time?
Yes.
Right, and you said that the children are learning this now. Is there an active effort to teach First Nations children about this type of medicine?
Yes, I'm teaching my granddaughter right now, and she knows a lot of the herbs that I use, and you can go along and pick these children you can tell which ones will be interested in it or have the gift of learning. So it's very easy to teach them because they remember.
And do you think some of them will go to medical school in the Western tradition as Jose has done? Is that what you feel is a good idea?
Yes, I hope so. I hope that this is the beginning of it, and I'm sure it'll go through the rest of for the rest of the students.
Yes, thank you. Well, I guess we should hear from a student now, somebody who's been studying for a long time as an ethnobotanist, Brian Compton, who's studying for his PhD at the University of British Columbia. And he studied a lot of the native plants and also the peoples that use the plants, for what reason, where they are, and how they might be of value. Brian, I want you to start, though, by telling me what an ethnobotanist is and what you do, and then tell us a little bit about your experiences.
Well, I think Jose here is basically doing some ethnobotany himself by going down and working with people, asking them what plants they're using and what they're being used for. And that's what an ethnobotanist does, studies plant-people interactions. It's not strictly limited to medicine. We're also interested in the use of plants as food, technology, spiritual applications like this. Quite interested in this one, the use of the sweetgrass as a spiritual application. And some sage there. These are all aspects of human-plant interactions. And I'm interested in all of those, but I've been asked today to talk a little bit about plant medicines. So if we could go to the slides. Thanks. One of the problems that we just encountered was the problem with nomenclature. And no matter where you go, people are going to have their own names for plants. Botanists use standard names. For example, this first plant here is known to botanists as digitalis. And in English, it's known as foxglove. The reason I have this on here is to illustrate the fact that many plant medicines are still being used today, even in Western science. For example, foxglove is the source of a heart regulatory drug. And I even know some people who use this. This is not a rainforest medicine, though. Another plant which is quite useful as a source of medicine is periwinkle. And there are several species of periwinkle. Probably the most important one recently is the Madagascar periwinkle. This is not the Madagascar periwinkle, but it's a close relative. And these plants are the source of drugs such as vincristine and vinblastine, which are being used to treat cancer, and very effectively. Another plant which is the source of some apparently very successful or potentially successful cancer remedy is this yew. And I've got a Western species of yew illustrated here, but we also have a European species, but we also have a Western Canadian species, and it's right now being investigated very diligently by a lot of pharmacologists and medical people because it seems to be one of the most promising anti-cancer drugs around. Well, I hope that one's light enough for you to see. I can barely make out this photograph to tell what it is. Oh, I remember now. This is one which is known to Europeans because they learned about its use from native people, and particularly native people of the West Coast here in Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia. And this also happens to be one of the most commonly used plant drugs in all of Canada by non-native people. This plant is known as cascara or Cascara sagrada. You may know this one. It's a very it's quite a good laxative, and it's not just a laxative, but it's a tonic laxative, which means that it helps to restore the tone of the lower intestines. And it's used, I think this is employed in about 200 over-the-counter remedies in Canada. Now, I'm also interested in talking about a few plants from not the tropical rainforest, but the temperate rainforest. I think everybody here is probably already familiar to some degree with the plight of the rainforests in South America and Central America and other tropics. But in BC, we have some very important forests also that are rainforests. They're temperate rainforests, and they're quite endangered, several of these areas. And I have a map of the province of BC here with a label that says Kitlope River Watershed. And right about where the K and the W are represents the actual location of this watershed. This place has been designated recently by Conservation International as the largest single unlogged ancient temperate rainforest ecosystem in the world. And I see that there are some representatives of another local conservation group, Western Canada Wilderness Committee, who are also focusing on this area. And now I'd like to show you a few, well, I want to take you on a little trip to this place through the use of these photographs. And the place we're going to go, first of all, is called Kitimat Village, and this is the home of the Kitimat people, who are also known as the Haisla people, and their close neighbors who originally inhabited the Kitlope area also live there today, and these people are known as the Kitlope. That's Kitlope Village off in the background. We're on the road there, and when we get there, we want to visit one person in particular, and we found his house. Now we'll see if we can't find him. Well, yes, there he is. This is Gordon Robertson, and he's the most knowledgeable Kitlope elder I know, and he's taught me a lot about the use of medicinal plants and also about the use of plants as medicines and technology and a lot of other things. And the plant that he's using right now is called Devil's Club. And I don't know if you can focus on this piece here. I've brought in a piece. And in this photograph, Gordon is actually taking this plant and scraping off the spines because it's a very spiny kind of a dangerous plant. If you don't know how to handle it, you can kind of injure yourself on it. But to the people of the coast, and particularly the Kitlope people, this is a very magical and a very powerful medicinal plant. It has a lot of supernatural attributes, and these are characteristics of a lot of cultures on the coast. But it's also quite valuable as a remedy for a variety of ills. In fact, it's a panacea, and this fact is related, or actually kind of indicated by its scientific name, Oplopanax, and the panax part means panacea or cure-all. This plant has been used by coastal people for perhaps millennia. We know that people have been here for around 10,000 years at least, and the information regarding this is only kept in the living memories of these elders. This is not the kind of knowledge you can generally go and look up in a book. That's why we have to go meet with people like Gordon Robertson to find out this information. This is the way the plant looks in nature when it's got its leaves and its berries. Both of those parts are also useful as medicine, but Gordon is focusing mainly on the bark. After you knock off the spines, there's a green layer which he cuts out and uses as a medicine. This has traditionally been employed for spiritual preparation and ritual cleansing by the Kitlope people, but it's also been used as a medicine to treat a number of ills, including cataracts. It's used to treat diabetes. It's been used to treat colds, infections. It's been used externally and internally. And in fact, there are some clinical studies to show that this plant does have some value. It actually has quite powerful hypoglycemic properties, which means that it's useful in the treatment of diabetes. And this is a pile of the bark that's been removed and it's being dried. Another one of the most important medicinal plants of the coast is the one that's called red alder. And it's a small deciduous tree. This is a young branch showing some new growth. But the bark that is used is the bark. And I've got a photograph there of two pieces of red alder bark, one with the bark showing, the outside showing on top, and the one on the bottom shows the inside of the bark. And from that one you can see very clearly why it's called red alder. I also have a piece here that was given to me by a native healer, which has had the bark on the outside removed. And this is a piece that's all ready to use for a medicine. This has been used for a variety of internal and external ailments as well. And the primary value seems to be in treating wounds or internal ulcers, bleeding, internal bleeding, and things like that. And it seems to be related to the fact that there are a lot of tannins in this, and tannins do help to provide conditions on wound surfaces so that they can heal much more readily. One of the most powerful medicinal plants of the coast, wild plants, and also the most dangerous, is this one called Indian hellebore, or Veratrum viridi in botanical Latin. And you can see the plant there with the large kind of parallel veined leaves. It looks as though they've been folded up like a paper fan. And the part that is most commonly used is the underground stem or rhizome and the roots. And this is a photograph of the fresh roots. You can see they're quite white and nice looking. But it's usually dried prior to use by native practitioners. And this is a piece of Indian hellebore which has been dried, and it's suitable for use by a native healer. I strongly advise you not to attempt to use these things yourself, because native healers have been using these for generations and in fact centuries and millennia, and they've developed their own sense of folk science, and they know how to use these things safely and properly. And Sid asked about the difference between science and, I guess, folk knowledge or something like that. Well, I really feel that folk knowledge is a form of science. And it's just now that we Western scientists want to approach that and kind of give it some attention and find out what these people have been knowing for perhaps thousands of years. This is used for a lot of things. It is known to Western science as having a heart regulatory effect. And it's also quite poisonous, like I said. In fact, it's deadly.
Brian, one of the things that comes to mind is the fact that any time we take a natural plant into a lab, we immediately try to extract the active ingredients, get a pure chemical. And
Right.
what you're describing basically are very complex living things that have many chemicals in them, and not just the one that might be causing the effect. Is that a better way, or is that just a different way of looking at a medicinal?
Well, the view of science is you have to isolate components in order to study them more completely. And scientists always want to find out what the basic cause of a phenomenon is. And so in the case of Indian hellebore, we want to find out which drug out of maybe the hundreds of drugs that are in it is the one that's most responsible for this effect. But native practitioners don't normally extract just one chemical out of a drug plant like this. And in fact, they may use a half a dozen or more different plants. Some people may use 10 or 20 different plants altogether. My experience on the coast has been that this plant, the Indian hellebore, can be mixed with at least a half a dozen other plants for a variety of uses. And then you get all kinds of interactions between these compounds. And that's very difficult for science to study. So there's a lot that's not known. That's one thing I'd really like to emphasize. Science does not know everything about these medicines.
Bev, you were nodding again. You've had some experience with this.
Yes, I've seen a lot of it being used together, and I've used quite a few of them together myself.
Can you give some examples of what you've used together?
The Devil's Club for one, and cedar bough, and the frog leaf. And I've also got a bark that was given to me from South America that I use quite a bit too. And in fact, that was where I began, was with that bark. But the Devil's Club I'm really familiar with, because that was one of my first teachings.
We have a question.
I'd like to direct this to both speakers. Could you describe the role of hallucinogenic or hypnotic herbs in the healing process?
The ones the plants I know, first of all, we have to understand what is a hallucinogenic plant. I don't know. I never experienced a plant in the Amazon that is. I know that I'm not saying there is not one, but personally, I never experienced one that is hallucinogenic. The ones I have experience with through the years of my training since I was probably 10 years old, it got to do with plants that they work on the level of memory, the level of DNA, RNA, that kind of level. So then after that comes a different experience of visions and also telepathy and clairvoyance. So you have those experiences, there is no, it's not an hallucination there, it's a reality.
But some of the
you
alkaloids...
need to know that. What I'm trying to say is for example, I'm going to mention a name of one. Chacruna, for example, versus the mushrooms are used in Mexico. Okay, there's two plants that will create maybe some type of hallucinogenic experience. Okay, but one, we give you like a type of a dream that is not real. On the other one, we give information that you will find out later, And I need to say something, just a commentary about what they say. One of the reasons why that I know that we use, for example, one plant with another one, one of the reasons probably for us is, the main reason is because the side effects of this plant, could be, for example, on this one. So we use other plants to cover that, to control that. Then also have to, especially when you take a plant and you're intaking it, Okay, when you take that plant, you have to first, before you do that, you have to have a protection in your stomach. For example, mucus, creating mucus. One of those that you do is drinking, for example, the juice of potatoes. Okay.
Interesting.
I can be here for 2 days talking about it.
Question?
I'm curious, everybody agrees that the destruction of the rainforest is going to be a terrible thing, and is a terrible thing, but if you're able to identify a plant and then identify the application for the plant, is it possible then to reproduce the effects of the plant, the medicinal effects, synthetically? So even if though the plants were destroyed, God forbid, you still would be able to reproduce the healing power of it?
Of course, we can. And that would also, I would say this way, we can do, I know we can, it's already done, but we don't need to do that, It's going to be, to do that, it takes a lot of people, doing it, and a lot of money, many laboratories involved and everything. And I just want 1 minute, I need to say this, because I think this is important. In Brazil, they need about 40,000 millions of dollars to begin to rainforest the Amazon that is destroyed very much in Brazil. In Peru, we have about 80% of our forest. The Amazon forest is still virgin and pure. We have the most incredible variety of plants and animals, because it's the beginning of the Amazons. The Amazon borns in Peru. We have the most incredible and exotic fauna and flora that we have in Peru. Now, only 7 months ago, there was a code of the environment and natural resources. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is very strong, this is very important, because this didn't happen in Brazil. This is why all the destruction, okay? Conforming with the book of the 10 of the political constitution of Peru, with the approval of the Board of Ministers and the Congress, creating 145 articles and 3 dispositions in order to be made public and to be executed September 7, 1990 by the President of Peru, Alberto Fujimori. Now, I'd like to only read one code of this, okay? Code number 9, there is no consideration or circumstances that can permit or excuse actions that might cause the extermination of any species or subspecies of animal or plant. Okay. The chapter 1 emphasized the prevention of future damage to the environment, for example. And the last one is many of these. Chapter 4, Article 15, prohibits the introduction of chemical waste that will endanger the forest, for example. So there is really, right now, it's like saying, here it is, you know.
Question? Yeah, hi, I have two questions. The first one is, what can we do as an audience up in Vancouver to help further your cause? And if we want to lend support, do we write letters to our MP, send money? Fat chance will get a lot from me anyway, but it's just, and also on a lighter note, I've heard some myths and things like towards cults and voodoo stuff. And now I doubt a lot of them is what we've heard them as, but could you enlighten us a little bit as to what they might really be on voodoo and witchcraft?
Voodoo and witchcraft. First, I guess you should tell us how people who live in this area can help.
Yeah. First of all, you know, Canada is a big influence in Peru. I had a big reaction, a very positive reaction for the press in Peru when I was coming to Canada to talk about the rainforest. And I think it's very important. I am going to be in, this is the first time I'm doing this, and I'm trying to put something together. Somehow we will let them know, everybody know. Probably to do with Science World, I don't know. We will see how we can do it. But there is a lot to do. One way is the way is to do it in Peru is with different areas to probably, for example, having a national park is one way. Having a place where a development. I don't know if we have time to show. Okay.
We actually are. The people will see.
Okay.
This park area that you've described. That's,
yes.
How many acres did you tell me?
But there is an area now. It's a friend of mine, Dr. Bruck, is doing. Is the only one in Peru that has his kind.
Here we are. We see it now on the screen, Jose.
Okay. It's the only one in his kind. It's a way to do it. You know, it's an area where you have different ways how you do it. You know, one area is a national park. And the other area, the green area I think is, and the blue, one is not a national park and the other area is a sanctuary. In the middle, the small spots that you see are the people who live there. Okay, they know how to take care of the forest, for example. They are the ones, you know. No. Right. So that's one way of doing it, you know. And like this area there is 90 million acres, for example. Wow. And it's right now is happening.
Very quickly, can you deal with the second part of that question, voodoo?
Okay, you have to understand some other type of knowledge and other type of beliefs came from Europe a long time ago to Peru, for example. I'm going to take just Peru. And so in those days, and also now, there is a type of knowledge, I would say, a type of energy that it was unknown for everybody in the outside world. And so when they came in contact, when they came in touch with this kind of energy, you know, I would say energy, many times they got injured, you know. In the Inca times, there were temples, there were places, special places where they were like people that would take care of these areas, okay. And they would take care of these areas, and nobody would come in or come out of it. You know, that was something sacred and secret. Thank you. And that was the reason. Then, you know, when they came out into something and to the unknown, there was a name for that, which is, you know, whatever, witchcraft, evil, or whatever. This is just an energy
How
that.
You look at it. All right. Question.
I don't think it's a question so much as a comment. We recently had a judge in BC suggest that we Native people give up our way of life, and I would really like to commend the two Indigenous people we have up there for recognizing and sharing what we've known for centuries. You know, just want to give a little idea about, we've drank Labrador tea for years, ever since I was little. And I asked my auntie when I was older, you know, what is it, why does it make me feel so good? She says, oh, it's to relax you. So one of my friends suggested that if we really concentrated, maybe what would we get? That was in the days of the 60s, by the way.
Yeah. I remember those days.
Anyway, I asked my auntie, she said, you simply just get diarrhea.
Thank you. Another question.
This is going to sound so similar. We were down at the Richmond Nature Park earlier today, and the naturalist, she said that the Labrador tea that grows all over the place, there had medicinal properties. This was really funny. And, but she didn't say what they were. And I was wondering if Bev Julian, other than giving you diarrhea, could tell us what Labrador tea does. And the other thing she said was wild cranberry.
Yes.
Bev.
Yes, you can. With the wild cranberry, it is an laxative also.
Does it do more than give you diarrhea?
Well, diarrhea is bad enough.
What healing properties does it have? What would you normally use it for?
Everything.
Parasites.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is it stimulant?
If you produce
Yes.
diarrhea, I'm sure that you can use it for parasites, against parasites.
Parasites as well. Right, so it's a general cleanser, I guess. Well, unfortunately, we're almost out of time, so it only leaves me to the time to thank the people who've come together here. Jose Cabinales Corral, all the way from Lima, Peru. Thank you very much for coming. Bev Julian from our own province of British Columbia, and also Brian Compton, who I hope is going to continue his studies and perhaps to bring together some of the ideas of native healing, how it fits into our, quote, modern scientific way of thinking. And I think what we're going to come out understanding is that some of the chemicals are of value, and we've already been using them. What we have to get around is this whole idea of philosophy, that just because something happens to come from a natural source doesn't mean that it's not as good as something that comes from a lab. So hopefully this will continue in the future. Thank you very much for your interest. Goodbye.